Get the best insurance rate for your home or auto at Caps Insurance Agency. Come by or call us. Get covered with Caps today.
No matter where you need help, we'll come to you. No matter where you live, no matter where you are. Chief Meteorologist Tim Miller. Weather coverage you can count on.
We're tracking two low-pressure systems, both that could bring us some rainfall. I'll time it all out, and I'll let you know when the rain will be at your doorstep coming up in your 5 for 6 forecast.
Right now on News Channel 6 at 4, new additions to the Aiken Steeplechase track. We're going to have a preview. It's going to be pretty impressive when it's all finished.
Plus, zipping through the sky, the proposal that could mean outdoor recreation in the Garden City.
And a lawsuit filed at the Bamberg County Jail after the death of an inmate. News Channel 6 at 4 starts now.
Live from Television Park, this is WJBF News Channel 6 at 4.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brad Means.
And I'm Jenny Montgomery. Thank you so much for joining us. Coverage you can count on begins with something new for a tradition that's nearly a century old. Aiken Steeplechase now has its first permanent structure. The new addition is a finish line tower at the end of the racetrack.
News Channel 6's Graham Lee joining us live now from the Steeplechase race course. And Graham, this tower is 3 stories tall, and I tell you what, it's going to bring some business to the city of Aiken.
That's exactly right, Brad. 4 months ago, they had a groundbreaking ceremony here to kick off what was once an idea, but now that idea is springing to life. And the structure behind me is called the James Stainbrook Overlook, and it's named after J.R. Stainbrook, who donated a big part of the $300,000 for the project. The tower has 3 floors, as you mentioned, and each floor will serve various functions to jockeys and spectators. President Frank Mullins says this addition is a great addition and a great opportunity for Steeplechase and the city of Aiken.
We needed this structure so badly for all the race functions. As I went through during the dedication, each floor has a purpose, and we need it badly, and we need a structure that's safe, and also one that we can rent out for other purposes. We want other people to enjoy the property, and this will give us the opportunity to start doing that.
Now, there's actually construction workers on the tower right now that are putting the finishing touches on this great structure behind me. And Mullins tells me that they're going to be finishing up all those touches just in time for their next races coming up this Saturday. Live in Aiken, Graham Lee, WJBF, News Channel 6. Back to you guys.
All right, Graham, thank you so much for that report. Downtown Augusta could be getting some more zip. Imagine taking off from the 5th Street Bridge and crossing the river on a zip line. That's one possibility, as the city looks to partner with the CVB to hire consultants to create an outdoor urban adventure center. The idea is to incorporate everything the riverfront has to offer for an outdoor experience.
Gives kind of a package to an expert through a selection process that says here are all of our assets: Riverwalk, 5th Street, the riverfront marina. Talk about what the shoreline is along our section. We'll talk about possibly going across the river, but we'll put all of that information to an expert to look at.
Voters approved $1.75 million for the project as part of SPLOST 8. The hope is to have Phase 1 up and running sometime next year. Time now for a first check of the weather.
Yeah, meteorologist Miller, hi, and Stanley. Miller, thanks. The district attorney has re-indicted a couple accused of murdering their 16-year-old daughter. This was Richmond County. Leon and Tanya Tripp now charged with 1 count each of malice and felony murder, aggravated assault, cruelty to children, and concealing a death. Remember this story? The Tripps charged in the death of their daughter, LaTanya Janelle Carwell, back in 2018. Tanya Tripp was originally charged with second-degree murder, but DA Jared Williams says the new charges were issued after the evidence was re-examined. The DA also announcing today that Marky Gunter has been sentenced to life in prison plus 10 years for the 2019 murder of a 2-year-old girl. The DA says Gunter shot at the child's mother during an argument, and 1 shot hit the girl in the head and killed her. The sentence is part of a plea agreement. Law enforcement agencies in Georgia are getting $1 million in grant money to help fight gang-related crime. The sheriff's offices in Richmond and Burke County will get some of that. $20,000 will go towards surveillance equipment in Burke, and Richmond's going to get $40,000.
It's analytical software that does not only identify certain gangs and characteristics, it's able to search multiple databases to show trends or patterns or similarities. That's something that be happening not just across Augusta, but across the area, across the state.
46 agencies applied for the grant money. 34 of those agencies got some.
The average age of a sex trafficking victim is 12 to 14, and that's true for our area. These children are students at our local schools. This week, Berkeley Bishop will host a special on child trafficking. She'll sit down with the police chiefs in two of our biggest school districts, Richmond and Columbia. One thing these law enforcement officers are focusing on is building better relationships with parents so they're more open to receiving feedback about how their child's behavior may be changing.
A lot of times a parent or someone will just say, that's not happening in my home. I know my child. You know, how many times have you heard that? You know, I know that's not going on in my home, and you're bringing the stuff to light, and a lot of times they're going, oh my God, this is the first time they're hearing of it.
There are ways schools are training staff members to identify a potential victim and taking steps to help protect them. We'll tell you what those are tomorrow at 7 on News Channel 6. And be sure to tune in for our 1-hour special, Hidden in Plain Sight, Protecting Our Children. New zones for the 2024-25 school year were approved in Columbia County. The changes were needed because of the opening of the new Westmont and North Columbia elementary schools, the closing of South Columbia Elementary, and growth in the county. Waivers will only be granted if there's a hardship or medical issue.
So now the job becomes making sure that our transitions are smooth and that our students, families, and teachers feel supported.
Informational meetings for faculty and parents will start in December. They'll set them up for December and January. The Salvation Army is kicking off the Christmas season and celebrating someone who's given 5 decades of service on the Augusta Advisory Board. At a breakfast this morning, the first donation was dropped into the iconic red kettle. And it's donations like this that helps the Salvation Army meet needs without discrimination by providing shelter for families, meals for the homeless, and much more. Bob Richards was also honored by current and former board members and Army officers for serving 50 years on the board. What has Bob meant over 5 decades to the Salvation Army?
I don't think it can be overstated how much, and Bob is a behind-the-scenes worker doing things. The Salvation Army in this community doesn't get to that 164 number. It just doesn't happen without someone like that.
164 is the number of people the Salvation Army transitioned from homeless to stable housing this past year. That's more than the previous 3 years combined. It is your chance to help make a child smile this holiday season. WJBF News Channel 6 is partnering with our Giving Your Best partners, Piedmont Hospital, Solvay, and Security Federal Bank for our annual holiday toy drive. Anytime between now and December 8th, you can drop off a new unwrapped toy right here at Television Park or at any CSRA Security Federal location.
A local bank is in the giving spirit as Thanksgiving approaches. Bank of America donating more than $10,000 to Golden Harvest. It'll support the food bank's urban farm. That farm provides produce to the soup kitchen.
We've been harvesting about 2,000 pounds every single year of food, and that goes into the dishes that we use at the Master's Table Soup Kitchen, but we'll also donate it to like Gap Ministry and other food pantries in the area just so we can get more healthy, fresh food out into the community.
BOA employees also volunteered today at the Master's Table. 12 South Carolina nonprofits have been chosen as the state's Angels of 2023. The Secretary of State recognizing groups every year for demonstrating good stewardship of charitable resources. That's the money you donate. Now, to be selected as an angel, the charity has to have devoted 80% or more of its total expenditures to charitable programs. Has to be around for at least 3 years, make good use of volunteer services, and have a significant presence in the state. In our area, congratulations to the Aiken Center for the Arts, which made the list.
Seasonal depression is common during this time of year.
Coming up, we're going to hear from doctors on ways to cope with it. Some important information for you in just a moment.
feel shorter because of daylight saving time. And for some, all the changes this time of year can trigger seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorder. Erin Morgan has the story.
The weather's changing. It's dark and cloudy. There might be a lot of rain. Depending on where you live, there may also be snow. We're getting less sunlight.
Cleveland Clinic psychologist Kia Ray Pruitt says seasonal affective disorder commonly begins in the late fall, and symptoms include things like feelings of sadness, lack of energy, and difficulty sleeping. Although anyone can experience seasonal affective disorder, it's more common among younger adults. Dr. Pruitt says people with clinical depression may also be at a higher risk. Those struggling during the fall and winter months may find some relief with light therapy, which involves using a special lamp to mimic outdoor light. And while we tend to hunker down in the colder months, Dr. Pruitt says it's important to get out every so often to socialize and do other activities that we enjoy.
Sometimes it takes forcing yourself to do something enjoyable even when you don't feel like it. It's kind of like exercise. We know exercise is good for us, but for a lot of people, the struggle is like getting to that point to do the exercise. But once you do it, you feel good, right? And so it might be doing some things anyway, even if it takes a little bit more effort.
Dr. Pruitt says it's critical to seek help if feelings of depression do not improve.
Well, allegations of negligence against Bamberg County after the death of a mentally ill inmate. We do want to warn you, some of the images are disturbing. A lawsuit claiming 51-year-old Alan Thibodeau, who had schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, faced neglect and excessive force. The suit says he spent his final days naked and covered in feces. The family says his civil rights were violated. And we talked to an expert about the state of America's prisons.
And then when you have people arrive at a jail or a prison, they have a constellation of risks and needs. And so what comes in the front door is often very complex and challenging, and can be really problematic when you don't have well-trained staff and adequate numbers of staff in place.
That family wants a jury trial and damages. Well, still to come on News Channel 64, more rain is on the way.
But will things clear up by the weekend? Miller Hyatt answers that when we return.
I'm Attorney James.
All right, thanks a lot, Miller. A different type of Ferris wheel, and this one has some pretty amazing views.
Coming up, why it's being called the ride of the future.
It's the rooms.
The International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions Conference is underway in Orlando. One company is unveiling Hubless Wheel. It's kind of like the Ferris wheel of the future. Each cabin can fit 4 people with 360-degree panoramic views as you travel around the wheel. And there's no spoke system inside the wheel.
And it can be put in places where it wouldn't obstruct the views or allow things to pass through the center of it, like maybe a roller coaster. And it can be made into different shapes. Looks fun. There is a lot more coverage you can count on coming up at 4:30.
Including for the first time in 6 years, China's president is in the